what is going on in this country. I'll tell you what, it's a heroic and patriotic thing to see somebody quit. That's what I learned last night. And I hope my kids learn that lesson too. There is nothing more heroic than quitting. Make sure your kids know it too. and your grandkids. We witnessed a heroic moment in American history. And we should not take that away from Resident Biden.
It's that proper example we need growing up, for sure.
Listen, kids, if you want to be an American hero, all you got to do is quit when the going gets tough. That's what we learned last night. Unbelievable. It was like a 10-minute address. A lot of people on the internet are pointing out that it looked pre-recorded.
Yeah.
And so one of the things they're pointing out is that the time that the speech aired did not correspond with the time on Joe Biden's wristwatch. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't.
No, well, I think we're giving Biden a lot of credit for setting the time correctly on his watch.
That's fair, yeah.
I don't know.
He probably forgot to replace the batteries a while ago.
Yeah, it's still 6:40. What's going on? I keep checking my watch. It's the same time. It's weird.
I mean, even a broken Biden watch is right more than he is.
Fair. Fact check true. All right, so yeah, Biden last night, Oval Office address, he gave it a good 10 minutes. Slurring, mumbling, stumbling, but he said, the best way forward, you guys, is to quit. That's the best way forward.
So I've decided the best way forward is to pass the torch to a new generation. That's the best way to unite our nation.
That's the best way. That's the best way. He's passing the torch to a new generation after being threatened with the 25th Amendment, according to certain reports. And that's the only way to do it. That's the best way forward is to quit. That's Joe Biden. An American hero. Also, did anybody realize the amount of promises he made on the way out? For a guy who's retiring in 6 months, he made an incredible amount of promises last night in that Oval Office address. And I wonder how he thinks he can get this done in 6 months when he hasn't done any of this in 3.5 years. But one of the things he promised was Supreme Court reform.
I'm going to call for Supreme Court reform because this is critical to our democracy, Supreme Court reform.
Okay, so is he going to try and pack the court before he leaves? It's critical to our democracy to completely change how we run the country and change the Supreme Court. It's critical. Critical. He made another promise too.
And I will keep fighting for my cancer moonshot so we can end cancer as we know it because we can do it.
We're going to end cancer in the next 6 months. Did I mention the most heroic thing he did last night was quit? Did I bring that up? Wow.
I think he's going to look up the definition of what cancer is and what it's affected on the medical community and realize, I think I'll step back from that too.
He made this promise like a year ago.
Yeah.
I don't even think it was a promise. I think he actually said we ended cancer.
Yeah.
If I recall correctly. I know one of you guys has the clip out there. We'll crowdsource that. Send it to the text line. He literally said, I ended cancer. But that was a couple years ago, so he's not going to remember that.
No, absolutely not.
He says we're going to stop Putin on the way out.
I'm the first president in this century to report to the American people that the United States is not at war anywhere in the world.
All right, hold on. I can't even get through the clip. Do proxy wars count? Asking for a friend.
We'll keep rallying a coalition of proud nations to stop Putin from taking over Ukraine and doing more damage.
And we're going to stop Putin. So are you keeping score at home? He's got 6 months, and so far we got Supreme Court reform, we're going to end cancer, and we're going to stop Putin. He also said we're going to secure the border.
We're also securing our border. Border crossings are lower today than when the previous administration left office.
Okay. All right.
Is he reading the stats from Trump's presidency when the previous one was Obama?
I mean, border crossings are down a bit, but is that something he really wants to hang his hat on? The southern border?
I sure wouldn't.
No, No. Another thing he wanted to hang his hat on last night during the Oval Office address is, I'm looking at the ticker, the Chiron on CNN, because they left it on here in the studio, and they're lambasting Republicans for calling Kamala Harris a DEI hire, but Biden said in his Oval Office address last night, when he made the heroic decision to quit, that his administration is full of DEI hires.
I've kept my commitment to appoint the first black woman to the Supreme Court of the United States of America. I also kept my commitment to have an administration that looks like America and be a president for all Americans. That's what I've done.
Yeah, all Americans, while demonizing half the country as domestic terrorists and extremists and a threat to democracy. We've seen many cases of that. You're doing a great job, Joe, and I want to thank you for your heroism in quitting. And then towards the end, he just went hard sell for Kamala Harris. And during this hard sell for Kamala Harris, the teleprompter, I think, gave him the spins.
In just a few months, the American people will choose the course of America's future. I made my choice. Also,
did anybody notice the old man noises coming out of him during the Oval Office address? He kept gulping, like it was like, oh. You hear that?
Yeah, it actively sent a chill down my spine hearing that.
It was so distracting for me.
It's like almost forceful into the mic when he did it too.
It's like this weird little like squishy crunch whenever he swallowed.
I don't.
Did you hear it? Like it's a squishy crunch, right? It's like it sounded like he's walking around in wet shoes.
Oh yeah. Just freshly jumped in a bunch of puddles outside his house.
It's a 10-minute address.
Get the man a glass of water.
Yes, honestly.
I made my choice. I've made my views known.
I mean, every pause, he has that squishy crunch of a swallow.
Man.
He should have just sent out an email. He should have just sent out an email.
I would like to thank our great Vice President, Kamala Harris. She's experienced, she's tough, she's capable. She's been an incredible partner to me and a leader for our country. Now the choice is up to you, the American people. When you make that choice, remember the words of Benjamin Franklin hanging on my wall here in the Oval Office.
This is when the teleprompter gives him the spins.
Alongside the busts of Dr. King and Rosa Parks and Cesar Chavez. When Ben Franklin was asked, as he emerged from the convention going on, whether the founders had given America a monarchy or republic, Franklin's response was, a republic, if you can keep it. A republic, if you can keep it. Whether we keep our republic is now in your hands.
Yeah, it's funny to me, a guy that essentially rigged the election in 2020 to win the presidency is now telling us, the republic, if you can keep it. Yeah, you won because the mainstream media covered up the laptop from hell. You won because of the rule changes via COVID. You won because of ballot harvesting and mail-in ballots. It's unbelievable. And he has the audacity to get on TV and say, it's the republic, if you can keep it. Gulp. The old man noises were at an all-time high. It's just whatever cocktail they gave him for that 10 minutes really dried him out. It really dried the poor guy out. It's disgusting.
It's gross.
It's gross. It's gross. So he says on the way out, after heroically quitting, it's Kamala Harris. Kamala or bust. So he didn't give an answer as to why he's quitting. He didn't. The best we got is he's going to pass the torch to the next generation and make room for new voices. Well, after that speech or address or whatever the heck you want to call it, the Trump campaign is actually demanding equal time from the networks that aired his primetime Kamala endorsement. Because let's be honest, that's what that was. That was an endorsement from the Oval Office. And the legal team for former President Trump is demanding that ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, and Fox give him equal airtime after carrying his primetime speech where he endorsed Harris and saying he was stepping down to unite the party. GOP political strategist Chris LaCivita posted on Twitter after Biden completed his address, every single network that aired this campaign speech will be getting follow-up letters from our attorneys demanding equal time. And he tagged the networks. Now, before the speech, David Warrington, who's counsel for Trump's 2024 political campaign, sent letters to the heads of these networks demanding that if they air the address, Trump be given equal time to make his case to the American public. And according to a letter obtained by Breitbart, Biden's speech does not represent a bona fide news event, but instead is a primetime campaign commercial to boost Vice President Harris's anemic poll numbers. Warrington wrote on July 23rd, 2024, President Biden announced that he would be giving a primetime speech Wednesday, July 24th. The speech is expected to address his decision to drop out of the presidential race in the wake of his widely panned debate performance and free-falling poll numbers. It is also expected to address President Biden's endorsement of Vice President and border czar Kamala Harris for the Democrat nomination for president. As such, it appears that Biden's speech will not be a bona fide news event, but rather a primetime campaign commercial to boost Harris's anemic poll numbers. He continued, as you're aware, under federal law, if you permit the use of your facilities by a candidate for public office, you are required to afford equal opportunities to all other candidates for that office to use such facilities. By broadcasting Biden's campaign speech, you've permitted the use of your facilities by a candidate for public office. Thus, you are obligated to provide an equal opportunity for President Trump. Warrington added in his letter to each network, this letter shall constitute a request for equal access. This letter provides actual notice of your obligations. Therefore, any failure to provide equal access may be considered willful and result in consequences up to and including the revocation of your station license. Moreover, you're granting a free airtime to President Biden to speak on behalf of Vice President Harris, and her campaign may result in an impermissible and excessive corporate in-kind contribution to the Biden, now Harris, for President committee. There's been no word yet if the networks will agree or if they will fight the demand in court. But you have to understand there's some standing here because this was a, full dry-throated endorsement.
The American people will choose the course of America's future. I made my choice. I've made my views known. I would like to thank our great Vice President Kamala Harris. She's experienced, she's tough, she's capable. She's been an incredible partner to me and a leader for our country. Now the choice is up to you, the American people. When you make that choice, remember the words of Benjamin Franklin hanging on my wall here in the Oval Office.
Now, when you make that choice, remember the last 3.5 years. When you make that choice, remember the in-store prices. When you make that choice, remember the interest rates. When you make that choice, remember the global instability that has happened under Biden-Harris. And we saw a glimpse into what foreign policy in America looks like under Harris yesterday with the Benjamin Netanyahu speech and the subsequent protests that were going on all throughout D.C. It was chaos. They raised the Palestinian flag. They burned American flags. They spray painted F America. They graffitied everywhere. Some arrests were made, but this is Biden's America, right? Harris's America. Biden said it himself. They're partners. They're partners. Well, we had a glimpse into that yesterday. And it looks just as chaotic as the last 3.5 years. Just as chaotic. We'll talk about those protests. What happened? Were there any arrests? I have audio from them raising the Palestinian flag. Disgusting. Disgusting. Plus, I want to talk about the difference in foreign policy between Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and one Donald Trump. Very, very different. Trump isn't even in office yet, and his foreign policy is already making huge strides globally. We'll talk about it. Hang out with us. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, it's Chris Hand from my friends at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. My guys at Busy Bee have an amazing deal for you. You got about a week left to take advantage of this. Buy one, get one on Beehive Club memberships for you and someone in your neighborhood. I know it's a crazy good deal. I mean, a Beehive Club membership on its own is a good deal. It's only $99, and you get so much value. 3 annual tune-ups, 1 for your heating, 1 for your cooling, 1 for your plumbing. 10% discount on repairs. Front of the line service, priority front of the line service should anything happen. A $100 annual accrued replacement credit with a maximum of $1,000. No overtime or holiday fees, and exclusive Beehive member promotions. So that's only $99, but for the month of July, it's buy one, get one free for you and someone else in your neighborhood. So there's 2 routes you can go, right? You could be an excellent neighbor and put a bow on that Beehive Club membership and gift it to a neighbor. Or you could be a cunning and smart neighbor and find somebody to go in half with you. Either way you slice it, it's a great deal, and Busy Bee is going to give it to you. Busy Bee's your Rude Pro partner for satisfaction guaranteed. Call Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, 615-775-7833. That's 615-775-7833. Online at busybeehvac.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Crews still working that injury crash 24 westbound in Clarksville. Then in Rutherford County, you've got 840 northbound, the left lane blocked by an overturned truck in Lebanon. One of Nashville's most wanted fugitives has surrendered. We'll tell you about it at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Wild day yesterday in D.C. Benjamin Netanyahu came in for a speech. Kamala Harris skipped it. Joe Biden didn't meet with him. He is going to be meeting with Trump, though, tomorrow at Mar-a-Lago. The best line from Benjamin Netanyahu's speech, I'm sure you've heard it.
Some of these protesters hold up signs proclaiming gays for Gaza. They might as well hold up signs saying chickens for KFC.
Yeah, honestly. Now, I'm not into war. I'm not into funding both sides of a conflict like we are with Israel versus Hamas, as we are. I think we need to take the guardrails off, put the bumpers down, and let Israel do what they need to do and stay out of it because it's not our conflict. But the left, they're avoiding this for an entirely different reason because politically it's not a good look for them. And there was protests in D.C. yesterday because Benjamin Netanyahu was there. And the protests turned violent. Don't listen to what NPR said. NPR said the atmosphere was largely peaceful. Honestly, that's what they said. NPR said it was largely peaceful. It reminds you of CNN during the Summer of Love. Mostly peaceful. Fiery, but mostly peaceful. Well, there were protests all over D.C. American flags were burned. Palestinian flags were raised. And it was overall chaos. NPR says mostly peaceful, but you know what it really looked like. It was chaos. And I'm sure you've seen a lot of the videos across social media. And I found one that was it was shocking to watch.
Oh, and right now there's stun grenades being put out or some sort of sound bombs, and they're raising the Palestinian flag at that flagpole, and you are hearing what appear to be stun grenades or firecrackers going off just on the other side. There are a number of Palestinian flags being raised over there, and the crowd you can hear is cheering very loudly right now.
Yep. It was mostly peaceful, right? They say the protests mark a significant escalation. Demonstrators continue to voice opposition to Netanyahu's visit and Israel's action during the ongoing war. Thousands of protesters were in the streets near the Capitol, which included heavy police presence and high fencing. It's funny, I said yesterday, I put out a tweet as they're erecting the fence, and I said, why though? And I knew why. Everyone knew why. Because unhinged leftists were going to take to the street. Kamala Harris wasn't there. She actually decided to skip the address and go talk to a sorority instead. Classy.
That's her environment.
Keep it classy. The differences in foreign policy with the Biden administration and the Trump administration couldn't be more different. We have Tom Davis, who's running for Congressional District's 4 congressional seat. He's running against Scott Desjardins. He's going to be joining us in studio, and we're going to talk about that difference in foreign policy after Ken Weaver's newscast on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
$9:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Middle Tennessee under marginal risk of severe weather today. Details during the full forecast in 2 minutes. Got an update to the missing person search downtown. Nashville firefighters say they found 33-year-old Alexandria Camille. They're assessing her on the scene before she'll be taken to the hospital. Camille, visiting from New Jersey, was reported missing around 3:42 this morning after she got separated from a friend downtown. President Biden sitting down today in the Oval Office with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Today is Biden and Netanyahu's first in-person meeting since the president's trip to Israel shortly after the October 7th attack by Hamas. Elsewhere in Nashville, one of the city's most wanted fugitives is in custody. 18-year-old Joshua Paleto Negrin turned himself in. He's under indictment for the fatal shooting of 21-year-old Shalina McCall in Madison in October of 2023. She and her boyfriend were driving along Gallatin Pike when their vehicle was shot around 24 times. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Thank you, Ken. It's 9:31 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand, and I'm here for my friends at Paul Winkler Inc. It's an election year. What do you do with your investments? What happens if Trump wins? What happens if Harris wins? You're going to have to talk to somebody that knows what they're doing. And there's a guy that's been through many, many elections, and he's seen all of this kind of chaos before. Maybe not to this extent, but he knows the financial markets when it comes to unpredictability. It's my friends at Paul Winkler Inc. You've probably heard Paul's show. He hosts the investor coaching show here on WTN. He's been doing that for over 20 years, and it's a great show. I learned a lot listening to that before I got my show. And when I got my show here, I knew I wanted to work with Paul because I felt like I already knew him from his show. And when I got to sit down with him and break bread, I realized he's the same guy here on the air. Honest, hardworking, smart, beyond all smart, very smart. And he can break things down for a guy like me in a way that I can understand. Now, Paul wants to make sure that his relationship with you starts off on the right foot. He wants transparency. He wants honesty. He wants me to tell you I get paid to do these commercials. And I do. But I don't get paid to be a client. I'm a client because I trust Paul and his team. They hold themselves to the highest level of fiduciary status. They don't do anything on commission. They really do focus on education, though, and they're going to educate you every step of the way so you never have that feeling of blind trust. They'll look at your whole financial picture, and then they'll help you make some decisions. But it starts with a 15-minute phone call, and then that snowball is going to be rolling downhill. Just go to paulwinkler.com, set up your phone call today. That's paulwinkler.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
9:38 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. You can follow me on Twitter, True Social, Instagram at Chris Hand on Air. You can listen to the show wherever you go. On the iHeartRadio app, the TuneIn app. You can catch the podcasts on Apple and Spotify. Even if you don't listen to podcasts, subscribe, hit 5 stars. I got 4 kids. They'll appreciate it. Thank you. Joining me in studio is Tom Davis. You might be familiar with Tom Davis. He's been running some ads on the station. He's running for Congress against Scott Desjardins. Welcome to the broadcast, Tom. How we doing?
Hey, good, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being in here again.
I'm struggling with my... I had the problem, too, with Murphy. I'm like, all right, 10% rule. So you got to be 10% smarter than the equipment we're working with.
Yeah.
All right, I think I'm good.
So Tom is running against Scott Desjardins. He's a veteran, all-around good guy. Why did you decide to run?
Well, it was a calling. I was called into it and then led to run in this particular position. And then last year, things just kind of, I was asked at the Memorial Day ceremony last year after I gave the speech, had I ever considered going into politics? I said no. And then it just kind of, wore me down, I guess. And just things kind of stacked up. And at the end of it, I heard at Tactical Response in Camden, a class up there, and the instructor said, if you find yourself standing around thinking you should do something, that somebody is probably you. So that was kind of like, all right, I'm thinking somebody should do something different. So I started looking at representatives, and I got to the U.S. House of Representatives and thought I could do things different, some different votes, and just kind of, just different and better. And some of the votes, the big one now that I have tied into has been the National Defense Authorization Act. And last year we got a yes, and I would have been a no. And a no because of the transgender affirming care that was in it. Horrible idea. Has nothing to do with the defense of the nation. And then now the current one, we're being told the House-passed bill is getting rid of all the DEI stuff, and which we'll see if it actually leads or completes that way if they get the final version and that stuff is gone. My money's on probably not. But even in the House-passed version, there is still funding for Ukraine. And Congressman Desjardins voted against blocking spending money on Ukraine, which the bill's passed. So out of the House version right now, we are authorized spending money for Ukraine, which I'm against. Not while our borders are wide open, not while these illegal aliens are displacing veterans, citizens in healthcare. I mean, just run the gamut.
Yeah, I mean, you can go down the list. It's infuriating how America has taken a back seat, especially to citizens to illegal aliens.
Absolutely.
What are you going to do differently than Desjardins?
More vocal. I mean, we've got to stand up, and we hear the line in the sand. I've taken line in the concrete because you can't move that. This line in the sand we're like, all right, let's reach it out and then back up and draw a new one. So let's be more vocal about it. The answer is no to the spending on Ukraine. Let's secure our borders. And then maybe we can talk about sending it overseas. The federal budget, the spending that goes on. I mean, I think last time I was up, we were at $34 trillion in debt. We're well past 35 now. So we've got to stop all this sending of our taxpayer dollars overseas. We've got to shrink this government. So that's where the votes are, and that's where within this party is being more vocal about it and bringing more people into that to hold that line.
Now, Desjardins, he's also running ads on the station, and he's welcome to come on anytime. We talked about Trump saying he wants equal to airtime, and we believe in that as well. He is endorsed by Trump.
Yes, he is.
How do you combat that, and why? Maybe not why is he endorsed by Trump, but how do you combat that on the ground and differentiate yourself from Desjardins? Because you like Trump as well, I assume.
Yes, absolutely. Well, it's an incumbent protection racket, one, but on the ground, I don't think that matters. I think, and he's been in long enough since 2010, they know that he's not in the district. They can see the voting record. He comes back and he talks about, getting the final ones right, if you will. for example, the Saturday sellout when the emergency package for Ukraine, again, while our borders are wide open. So and now he's talking about that again. But what we're not hearing about the current NDAA is that he's for funding Ukraine. So you got to dig into the votes a little bit, and that's what I discuss out there. And people are surprised. Even when I talk about the last year's NDAA, when we talk about authorization for transgender affirming care, people are like, what? And the one lady was like, I'm going to have to call him and ask. And okay, I mean, please do. Ask why he's voting for that, regardless of how August 1st winds up for this. We still need to hold whoever's in that chair accountable for these votes. And in the district, we want someone that comes back and talks to us, and we want someone that says no to Ukraine and no to this ridiculous spending that we have going on.
You mentioned that in the district. You're meeting with a lot of people in the district. What are you hearing from folks on the ground?
Exactly what I've just been saying, and that it's time for change. They're ready for somebody new to be in, and those are the common themes. Is that I mean, they look around like, yeah, when was the last time he was here doing something? And I'll be to be honest, he has been to some since I've been doing this, but typically it's paid events, the Reagan Day dinners that you have to pay to go to, which I understand all that, and I'm sure I would still be doing that as well. But just regular town halls in the district, we don't see. I called last week and asked, because they're taking the month of August off, and asked where he will be in the district, town hall type things. And then this was the D.C. office that I called, and they said, I don't know. They don't know the schedule, don't know what they're doing. So I have no idea where my representative is going to be in August from that office. The two offices that they maintain in the district are by appointment only. And I haven't tried to call those yet. I mean, I don't know anyone out there that has, but not a lot of positive feedback on the connectivity back from D.C. with our representative. So for me, I've said quarterly, at least quarterly in the district somewhere to do town halls. I should be at least monthly, putting my face into my phone or whatever the setup is and doing videos. So that's how I stay connected with the district and how our vote should be. The majority of us in the district, how they want us voting. And that's what I'm hearing right now is a no on Ukraine, no on this DEI stuff, and be more vocal about it. Other than during election season.
It's funny. I got a text from Sarah Maccabee just now. Sarah was on the show yesterday. She's the wife of a J6 political prisoner in Tennessee, and she said, "We want someone who won't let the FBI come into their district and take their constituents. Davis has actually taken the time to hear me out. For that, I'm grateful."
And I'm grateful for her for putting up the fight and being so vocal. I can't even imagine that her trials and tribulations in this, and her husband, that they come in and rip people from the district. And I think she said we're up to like 31 in Tennessee now. But these families going through this, and for your representative not even to hear you, to me that is just crazy talk. So, and I said, and I mean, that offer is still good for her to come be on the staff. I win this. I'll turn her loose, man. I'll go for it.
How do you feel about current Republican leadership in the House?
Not super excited. We've been getting exactly the same thing. I mean, we went through a process to remove a Speaker of the House, and in that, the hopes that we would hold that line in the concrete, because that was what he said before, no spending on Ukraine, and it's just exactly the same things. It's like, stop this stuff. We cannot keep doing business as usual, and we have got to listen to what people are getting elected for.
What do you envision the country looking like after November 5th?
Well, to get a positive outcome for that is Trump winning, but we've got to stay vigilant on that. And by vigilant, I mean everyone telling your friends, go vote the correct way for Trump, and then down ballot too. We've got to switch some of these guys out that have been there this long and are not taking the fight to the system. But it's a long haul. If we get that win, if we don't, if these Democrats, they're in a box right now, and there's no telling the levels of shenanigans and hijinks that they will go to get their win. I mean, they already switched out their nominee.
Yep.
Because he wasn't polling well, in addition to just not being well. But they're all falling right in line, and that nobody. Well, I guess BLM I heard this morning coming in is mad about the process.
Yeah, Black Lives Matter of all organizations are mad that Kamala was installed as the new queen.
Yeah, and so they're falling in line with it. I'm like, this is, to me, is just crazy. No one's raising a stink about it, and
it blows my mind because 4 months ago we were told if Biden had a stronger VP, he would have a chance at the election, and now we're being told that there's no one more qualified than Kamala Harris.
Yeah, it's insane. And I mean, I've been listening to you coming in this morning. Just the gaslighting has begun. Like, no, she was not the border czar. Well, really?
When is Election Day, and what areas are in your district?
So Election Day is August 1st. We are in the early voting right now, which goes through the 27th. And it is the 4th Congressional District. There's 15 counties. Starting on the west is Lawrence County. The east, it ends with Meigs County, and most of those in between up through Rutherford. So if you look on your voter card too, that'll tell you. But if you've heard the name Congressman Desjardins as your rep, that's your guy.
Well, I'm going to go on record. I am going to be voting for you, Tom. I do think that it's important to have some change and throw in a monkey wrench every now and again. And I think that you're the right guy for the job. And I hope everybody takes a look at you.
Well, I certainly appreciate that. And I don't know where we're at on this, but I do have to give my condolences that your conservatives for Biden movement was unsuccessful.
We tried really hard. We fought a good fight, but
I know the effort that went into it, and I was sad. I was really sad.
We didn't even get to hand out the bumper stickers.
I was on board with you too.
Man, it's been a crazy couple of weeks.
Oh, it has. I mean, just the news cycle and the way everything has changed over, and it feels like some planning going on there. That because I mean, how long did we talk about the assassination attempt? And now, how many things have we buried that down with now to include that showing last night? That dude ain't well.
It's insane that it's been 12 days since the assassination attempt, and it feels like it's old news.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, you got to stay up on it and stay engaged.
Honestly,
is the big thing, and that's we the people have to take it back, and that's how we do it is at the voting, with your vote and staying engaged with your representatives.
Yep,
and calling and asking the questions. So
Tom Davis is running for Congress against Scott Desjardins. Where can people find you, Tom?
People can find me at Tom Davis for Congress on Facebook, and YouTube is Tom Davis TN4. Email is tomdavistn4@gmail.com. My website is thomasedavisforcongress.com. You can see me tomorrow. I'm out in the district. What's tomorrow? Friday.
Yes, sir.
I'll be in Lincoln County at the Reagan Day dinner out there. Saturday, I'm in Grundy County at their picnic. And then actually tomorrow, if you're interested, I'll be volunteering in Warren County at the Senior Center, serving lunch and doing the thing.
Good for you, brother. I love what you're doing, and I'm behind you, and best of luck.
I appreciate it, and I appreciate you letting me come on and bump my gums a little bit.
Anytime. Tom Davis, he's a good guy. Find him on the internet. He's everywhere. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Metro firefighters say they have good news about that missing persons report downtown, and one of the city's most wanted fugitives is behind bars. We'll tell you about it at 10 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken. It's 9:57 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm Chris Hand. Thanks again to Tom Davis for coming in. Good, all-around good guy. We've been talking also this morning about the Oval Office address, the 10-minute pre-recorded speech by the resident-in-chief, where he mumbled and slurred and did his best to endorse Kamala while giving us no real reason for dropping out. Donald Trump responded to that this morning on Fox News.
He's been this way for a long time. He hid in his basement during COVID. They pulled a fast one. He was in his basement. He was when I was campaigning. I said, "Where is this guy? He's never out." And he's been this way for a long time. I think he's worse now. I watched the speech last night, and look, the amazing thing is you look at the other networks. They say, "Oh, wasn't that a wonderful speech? Wasn't he wonderful?" It was terrible. It was like a terrible speech and terrible delivery. He looked like he was having problems, and yet you watch the other networks, and you would think he was Ronald Reagan in his prime, Winston Churchill in his prime, and he wasn't. It was not good. It was not a good. It was not a good speech. The look, the sound, the voice, everything, and it's so phony what's going on. I mean, the press is it's so fake. Anybody can see it was a problem.
Anybody can see it was a problem. He's not lying. Listen, MSNBC, you should have. Rachel Maddow was out sick, but she called in because it was such a historic moment to watch Biden heroically quit on the American people. And she called into MSNBC, and Trump nails it. They cover it like Biden is this hero. It's weird.
So I've decided the best way forward is to pass the torch to a new generation. That is the best way to unite our nation. Your thoughts?
Yeah, first of all, I'm sorry that I'm not there with all of you in person. I'm homesick and trying hard not to get anybody else sick. But wow, I mean, I think it should also just be said, like, this is one of those speeches that is going to go down in history, not just as a great Joe Biden speech, but as a great moment in the American presidency.
Is a great Joe Biden speech actually a good speech, or was that precursor letting you know how bad it was? I'll tell you what, the Mockingbird media were tripping over themselves to say how great it was. Dana Perino on Fox News, she didn't take that route.
People really wanted to know what just happened in the last 3 weeks. But this speech was like a mini State of the Union. It was like something he could have given in January of 2025. It rang hollow for me. It did not answer any of those questions, and I do not think that it helps Kamala Harris as she tries to make some sort of a break with him, as she tries to get this nomination and try to beat Donald Trump. It's going to be very difficult for her to do so. He's got 6 months left. And there's a lot of problems in this country. He said he's going to fix all of them.
He's got to fix them all, though.
Every one of them.
Up to and including cancer. Up to and including cancer.
It's a big old Band-Aid. I'm just going to slap it right on.
All right. Well, I do want to talk about the differences in foreign policy. We saw a glimpse into Kamala Harris's America yesterday when Benjamin Netanyahu came for his address to Congress. Kamala didn't show up. The protesters did. Is that the future if Kamala wins? I think so. We'll talk about the differences in foreign policy on that, Ukraine, and Israel-Palestine. Hang out with us. It's 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Middle Tennessee under a marginal risk for severe weather today. Details during the full forecast in 2 minutes. Right now in Nashville, firefighters say they have good news to report on that missing woman search. They say they found 33-year-old Alexandria Camille and assessed her on the scene before taking her to the hospital. Camille visiting from New Jersey was reported missing around 3:42 this morning after she got separated from her friend downtown just before 2 o'clock. Elsewhere in Nashville, one of the city's most wanted fugitives is in custody. News 2 says 18-year-old Joshua Paledo Negrin turned himself in. He was indicted in the shooting death of 21-year-old Shalana McCall in Madison last October. McCall and her boyfriend were driving along Gallatin Pike when their vehicle was hit by gunfire around 24 times. Paledo Negrin surrendered himself yesterday, marking at least 124 most wanted fugitives who have been taken into custody since Nashville started its program in October of 2022. And new details on the legal status of a man accused in the hit-and-run death of a Nashville restaurant owner.
Fox 17 reports the man charged with criminal homicide in the deadly Smokin' Thighs crash is in Tennessee illegally. According to the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, Ulysses Ragos Martinez is an illegal immigrant from Mexico. The 24-year-old is accused of a hit-and-run crash that claimed the life of Matthew Carney, the owner of Smokin' Thighs restaurant. Fox 17 News has also confirmed Ragos Martinez has a criminal history. Jay Harper, WTN News.
And First Lady Jill Biden meeting with families of Team USA athletes ahead of tomorrow's opening ceremony of the 2024 Olympics in Paris.
You are their biggest supporters, the ones who cheer even when the world isn't watching.
According to the Paris Tourism Board, 100,000 international passengers expected in Paris between now and Saturday, the majority from North America. The occupancy rate of hotels in Paris believed to be at about 85 to 90% at an average rate of $258 per night. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
The Guaranteed Offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. It's 10:06. You can find me on Twitter, True Social, Instagram, at Chris Hand on air. Hit the follow button. I will follow back. I want to discuss foreign policy, which I think is one of the Trump campaign or Trump presidency's biggest strengths. And it's one of the Biden administration's biggest weaknesses. And Kamala Harris has been tied right into that. You know, yesterday while Benjamin Netanyahu was in town giving a joint address, right? Kamala Harris decided to hang out with a sorority. She didn't get to see this live.
Some of these protesters hold up signs proclaiming gays for Gaza. They might as well hold up signs saying chickens for KFC.
I mean, he's right. He's right. Also, during that speech, there was protests and riots downtown D.C. Graffiti everywhere. Graffiti that said, F America. Graffiti that said, Hamas is coming. They took down the American flags, burned them, and raised the Palestinian flag. You know, it's weird. I was wondering if anything was going to come out of the Harris campaign about this. As of now, still no comment from the Harris campaign against the pro-Hamas protesters burning the American flag. Well, but this is what we expected, right? This is one of their biggest weaknesses. Foreign policy. People don't respect Joe Biden. People don't respect Kamala Harris. In fact, during Biden's Oval Office address last night, where he discussed his heroic choice to quit, U.S. had to scramble fighter jets to intercept Russian and Chinese nuclear-capable bombers off the Alaska coast. Yeah, I know. Mockingbird Media is not going to cover this. U.S. and Canadian fighter jets had to scramble to intercept Russia and Chinese nuclear-capable strategic bombers because they were doing war games during Biden's address to the nation. Yeah. The North American Aerospace Defense Command detected and tracked these aircrafts as they entered Alaskan Air Defense Identification Zone on Wednesday. The command said the bombers with fighter escorts were on a 5-hour joint patrol over the Chukchi, I'm probably butchering that, Sea, the Bering Sea in the northern part of the Pacific Ocean, in a show of firepower by Moscow and Beijing amid unprecedented international tension. And it has been, with the Biden administration, there's been unprecedented international tension nonstop. And it's because Biden's been leading from weakness. And Harris will lead the exact same way. Do you think that Kamala Harris is going to intimidate Putin or Xi Jinping any more than Joe Biden has? Do you think Kamala Harris can lead us from a position of strength? No, of course not. Kamala Harris is even afraid to be in the same building as Benjamin Netanyahu because of what the radical left might think about her. And she doesn't want to lose those voters. The foreign policy difference couldn't be more real. And we're seeing the Trump effect in real time. A couple days ago during the Jesse Waters interview, Trump was talking about foreign policy, he's talking about Ukraine, and he told Jesse that he has a phone call with Zelensky.
President Zelensky called me, and we had a good talk. And I said, we got to get this war over. This is a war machine. You're facing a war machine. That's what they do, is they fight wars. They beat Hitler. They beat Napoleon. They're fighting a war. And the spring offensive never happened. And I hear they had millions of mines put down, and they had thousands of army tanks, meaning the Russians. And I said, we've got to get this war over with. A lot of Russians being killed, but a lot of Ukrainians being killed. It's a whole mess. Should have never happened. Biden should have never allowed this to happen.
Biden should have never allowed this to happen. One of the things that Trump does, which I think is so powerful, is when you want to create an enemy and you want to start a war, you dehumanize the other side. And we see that with the radical left and Donald Trump. But just historically, you dehumanize the opposition. One of the things that Trump does that is so strong and so subtle is he humanizes the opposition. He humanizes people. And if dehumanization can lead to conflict, well, humanization can lead to peace. And you hear it when Trump talks. We've lost a lot of Ukrainians. We've lost a lot of Russians, too. We heard him when he was talking about the Middle East while he was president. He said the exact same thing. A lot of Americans have died. A lot of A lot of people from the Middle East have died too. He humanizes people. That's one of his strengths. Also, he has an air of unpredictability that makes people not want to test him, which is also very, very good. But we're seeing the ripple effects from the Trump effect with Ukraine. Trump has a phone call with Zelensky, says we got to end the war. Well, now the Ukraine foreign minister, Dmytro Kuleba, is telling top Chinese Communist Party diplomats in Beijing yesterday that his country is willing and ready for dialogue and negotiations with Russia. After a Trump phone call, is this a coincidental timing? I don't think so. This is a huge change from repeated refusals by Zelensky and Ukraine to consider direct talks. Russia's been engaging in colonialist adventurism in Ukraine for a decade, first annexing Ukraine's Crimean Peninsula in 2014 under Obama, backing pro-Russian separatist group in the Donbas region. In February 22, Russian strongman Vladimir Putin announced the launch of a special operation to oust Zelensky, consisting of a full-scale military invasion that persists today. Zelensky's refused peace talks for 2 years with Putin, and he's refused it on the grounds that no talks should take place until Russian soldiers are no longer present in the country. Well, his last direct contact with Putin was in December of 2019. December of 2019. And today they're looking for peace talks. And I have to think it's because of this phone call with Donald Trump.
An easy stop. This was zero chance of happening. And it didn't happen for my 4 years. It would have happened. It didn't happen. And President Putin would have never done it. Never, ever. Two reasons. Number one, the oil prices were low. I kept them low. I kept gasoline low. I kept oil low. And he wouldn't have had the money to prosecute. As soon as these guys came in, the oil went to almost $100 a barrel, which is double what it should be. And all of a sudden, he's got tremendous amounts of money that he didn't have. Russia had. So they did the war, and in my opinion, every single thing that Biden said was the opposite of what he should have said. I watched this happening. I said, he's saying the wrong things. He's saying absolutely the opposite of what he should be saying.
No, and he's right. The Biden foreign policy is like the old Seinfeld episode with George Costanza where he realizes I just need to do the opposite and everything will work out. That's what Biden should be doing. Whatever you think, just do the opposite. And I would suggest Kamala Harris the exact same thing. But Trump's foreign policy has been so strong, and he's continuing to do it. So he's meeting with world leaders while he's in court. We've seen the Japanese prime minister go to Trump Tower. And then tomorrow, he's actually going to be meeting with Netanyahu at Mar-a-Lago. But before he meets with Netanyahu at Mar-a-Lago, Trump does something I thought was very, very smooth. Very, very smooth. Trump obviously wants peace. Obviously. And I think you're crazy to not want peace. Well, yesterday, Trump posted a letter from the Palestinian president. Yeah, Trump shared a letter on Truth Social from Mahmoud Abbas, the leader of the Palestinian Authority. And the letter was a nice letter saying, you know, we saw that you had an attempted assassination. We were worried about you. We're glad you're okay. In a nutshell, right? I'm boiling it down to really just the meat and potatoes. We're sorry that happened. Shouldn't have happened. Glad you're okay. Trump posts this letter on Truth Social. This is before he announces he's meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu. And he says, Mahmoud, so nice. Thank you. Everything will be good. Donald Trump. Everything will be good. This man is so calculated the way he does these things. He's humanizing the other side. He's humanizing them. He's saying that somebody that is supposed to be evil and bad, that we've heard is evil and bad, reached out to me and said, I'm glad you're okay. And he responds back, everything will be good. And when you see the ripple effect from just a phone call with Zelensky, now Ukraine is open for peace talks. What's going to be the ripple effect out from this meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu? I understand under Trump, we had no new wars. Biden's taking credit for that now. I'm the only president that didn't have a war going on while I was president. Well, who got you that? Well, it was Trump. And I'll point out, under Biden, we've had two proxy wars. And we've funded Ukraine to the tune of billions. And in Israel versus Hamas, we're funding both sides via money for hostages and sanction relief on Iran, which then indirectly funds Hamas, and the billions that we send over to Israel for aid. We're funding both sides. So we've had proxy wars under Joe Biden. But Trump is so smooth, man. He humanizes people. If dehumanization leads to conflict and leads to war, humanization can lead to peace. And I look at this and I can't help but think that that's Donald Trump's strategy. I hope it's a strategy and I hope it works. I hope that we could see peace in the Middle East someday. And I think under President Trump, we could. When you look at what he's done with the Abraham Accords and more, I think that that's the direction that we could go. But if we put somebody like Kamala Harris in there that world leaders aren't intimidated by, that nobody respects, well, we're going to just evolve more and more into chaos. That's what the left wants. More chaos. But the Trump effect is real, and you see it. You see it in real time with the letter, with the phone call to Zelensky, and with the letter from the Palestinian Authority president. You're seeing it in real time. His foreign policy is top notch. But it's also because he's strong, right? It wouldn't work as well if he wasn't strong. It wouldn't work if Trump said, if you go into Ukraine, we're gonna nuke the Kremlin. If he's not strong, Putin doesn't believe him. He goes into Ukraine anyway. You need somebody strong to be able to do this. And during that interview with Jesse Waters, he pointed out Putin went into Ukraine because of Biden's weakness in Afghanistan.
I think one of the reasons Putin went in is because when he saw Afghanistan, the way we got out, not that we got out, I was going to get out. I would have been out sooner, but we would have been out with dignity and strength. When people saw that, like Putin, like President Xi of China, strong guy, strong man, when they saw that, Jesse, they said, this is our time. And that's why he went in my opinion, that's why he went into Ukraine. I mean, he went to Ukraine when he saw how bad we were with Afghanistan. He said, these people are incompetent.
Yep, you got to have strong leaders, and we currently don't have that. Rick on line one wants to talk about the Biden speech last night. What's up, Rick?
Good morning, Chris. After last night's Oval Office, Kamala Harris political campaign announcement paid for by the American taxpayers, I'm going to tell you, Joe Biden entered the Oval Office a habitual liar, and brother, he is leaving, certainly leaving the same and cowardly. So that guy is disgusting. January cannot come quick enough for America. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm waiting. I feel like the days are going to be very long, Rick, but the months are going to be very short. Lord willing, we get a victory come November. Janie wants to talk about Palestinian protesters burning the American flag. What's up, Janie?
Yeah, what nobody is saying, we say we have the right, you have the right to burn a flag. They're not burning their own flag. They're burning the Capitol, the government, the city, somebody else's. That's stealing something. And they're defacing the government property when they wrote all over that Freedom Bell. Yep. So it's not like they're bringing a flag and burning it. They're stealing a flag, and you can be charged for that. But all these guys that they arrested, they let them out. They let them all out.
Oh, yeah. They're not going to serve 5 to 20 like a J6 protester.
No.
No way. No way. I appreciate the call, Janie. And, NPR, taxpayer-funded radio, is calling those protests yesterday mostly peaceful. Mostly peaceful. There were some arrests made as these pro-Palestinian protesters were in Washington, D.C. There were some arrests made. But again, do you think they're going to be treated the same way J6ers are treated? Do you think that the pro-Palestinian protesters will be treated the same way pro-life protesters are treated? No, of course not. Of course not. It's 10:21 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, on the way, Donald Trump He had another rally last night. It was a doozy. The energy was unbelievable, man. You look at the difference between Kamala Harris's sorority speech and Donald Trump in North Carolina. You look at the energy, the vibe. Totally different.
Are we really surprised at this point?
No.
No.
There's a reason they don't want to do outdoor rallies. There's a reason.
Got to keep to comparable sizes.
Yeah, it's 10:22. We'll play that audio for you next from Trump in North Carolina on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, it's Chris Hand from my friends at USS, United Structural Systems. This time of year, we don't get too much rain, but we've gotten some past couple days, and that gives you an opportunity, or it gives you a headache if you already know you're having this problem. Is water getting into your crawl space or your basement? It's time to deal with it if so. And if you're not sure, today's the perfect day to take a look. See if water is standing in your crawl space. Do you have that standing water? Are you noticing wet basement walls or cracks in your basement floor? Man, these are all ways that your house is trying to tell you something. And you should give my friends at United Structural Systems a call to take a look. They've been doing this in Middle Tennessee for decades. They're not going anywhere, and they have 25,000 satisfied customers to back them up. They will come in and help you with your waterproofing needs, whether that's a full crawl space encapsulation or just some basement and crawl space waterproofing. They can do it all, and they've been doing it since 1994. If you're having waterproofing issues, call USS today, 615-488-7855. That's 615-488-7855. Online, USSTN.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Machete attack on a woman in Nashville. We'll tell you about it at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken. It's 10:27 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. North Carolina last night was electric. Donald Trump rally indoors. Secret Service doesn't want him to do outdoor rallies anymore. They'd rather it be a third of the size and 3 times as expensive for the Trump campaign.
Well, it's easier to control that way.
It is.
Keep us under wraps.
It was wild, though. Donald Trump, he roasted Kamala for her crowd size a couple times, and he asked them to turn the cameras around last night.
And I always say, but they never do it, turn the cameras around to show them the crowd, but they never do it.
I mean, it was packed.
I don't even think you need the cameras to wheel
They
around.
never want to do it.
It was wild.
Just the sound of that crowd is huge.
You think Kamala Harris could do anything like that? I mean,
yeah, mainstream media, they cut the sound off.
Did they really?
Well, what they do is whenever they use in actuality what we call a sound bite in the business, they end it before you can hear the crowd at Trump rallies start roaring.
Interesting.
Now they leave it in for Kamala.
Nice.
Yeah, because there's not much content going on with Kamala's clips. It's just kind of
and
running in circles.
And the roar it's not even you can't even compare it.
I mean, I
wouldn't Trump gets.
I wouldn't say crickets roar.
Well, it was the first rally though since Kamala has been coronated. I hate how they keep using that word. It's so Disney to me. The coronation. The coronation has happened, and Trump really put his focus on Kamala Harris.
But this November, the American people are going to tell her, no thanks, Kamala. You've done a terrible job. You've been terrible at everything you've done. You're ultra-liberal, and we don't want you here. We don't want you anywhere. Kamala, you're fired. Get out of here. You're fired.
All right, I'll be honest with you. When he was doing that with Biden, the Biden, you're fired, I was like, all right. But when I heard it last night on Kamala, I was like, all right, I like it again. All right, you got
It's a little better.
All right, I like it again. I was like, it's getting a little old, it's getting a little tired. And now that it's with Kamala, I'm like, all right, perfect. I'm back. We're so back. We're so back.
As borders are, Kamala threw open our borders and allowed 20 million illegal aliens to stampede into our country from all over the world. As vice president, she cast the tie-breaking votes that created the worst inflation in a half a century, decimating middle-class families and hurting very badly, as you know, all people in North Carolina.
All people in America, I would add, but I thought Kamala said she's gonna work to help the middle class. She doesn't have a record of that. Trump digs in more on the record after Ken Weaver's newscast on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.30 on the dot this Thursday morning. Marginal risk of severe weather across Middle Tennessee, and we've got the full forecast in 2 minutes. Right now in Nashville, a man is accused of trying to kill a woman with a machete this morning, allegedly hitting her several times in the face. News 2 says court documents show 47-year-old Thomas McDowell and the victim were staying in a tent when it happened. A witness says the woman had a large cut from her forehead to her chin. McDowell allegedly went back to the tent and hit, kicked, and spit on the woman, and then threatened to kill everyone in the camp with a gun. He's in custody charged with attempted criminal homicide. And police say they found a tourist who was reported missing from downtown around 3:42 this morning. 33-year-old Allie Camille, visiting from New Jersey, got separated from her friend and was last seen near the riverfront at First and Woodland. Officers say she emerged hours later as they were looking for her. The photo they posted to X showing a barefoot woman with dirty jeans who is smiling. Firefighters say they assessed her on the scene. They were going to take her to the hospital for further checking out. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
But this November, the American people are going to tell her, no thanks, Kamala. You've done a terrible job. You've been terrible at everything you've done. You're ultra-liberal, and we don't want you here. We don't want you anywhere. Kamala, you're fired. Get out of here. You're fired.
That's Donald Trump last night in North Carolina. Did you notice what he did there? He said, we don't want you here. We don't want you there. We don't want you anywhere. It's a throwback to that Tucker interview where he said, she talks in rhyme. It's weird. It's weird.
And yet he does it better.
He does it so much better. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. It's 10:36. Kamala is actually talking to some teachers right now in Houston, Texas. Kamala. Kamala. Let's be burdened by her for a minute. Will you pull that up? I wonder if they'll turn the cameras around to show the crowd size.
We see a future with affordable health care.
Oh, yeah.
Affordable child care and paid leave. Not for some, but for all. We see a future where every student has the support and the resources they need to thrive, and a future where no teacher has to struggle with the burden of student loan debt.
Wasn't Kamala one of the ones that helped shut schools down during COVID? Oh, weird.
So as an example, our administration has forgiven student loan debt for nearly 5 million Americans.
Yeah. And you ignored the Supreme Court every step of the way.
Twice as much for our public servants, including our teachers. Teachers like Tanya Cabeza, who I met recently in Philadelphia. Tanya was first in her family to go to college, and she had been, like many, paying off her student loans for 20 years. And she told me, she was like, look, I at many times wondered, would I have to leave this profession I love to just be able to pay my bills? But I did it. I didn't leave because I love what I do and I understand the importance. But making decisions then about what she could afford in terms of her daily obligations and dealing with these loans.
I love how she's blaming the loans and not the inflation from the Biden administration.
$40,000 in student loans. And we forgave it all.
Yeah, the issues paying bills has nothing to do with inflation.
She told me, she said when she learned that her loans had been forgiven, she said, well, me and my children knew our lives had changed and we were just dancing. So there we go.
There we go.
But we are clear-eyed as we work to build a brighter future and to move our nation forward. There are those who are really trying to take us backward. And you, I'm sure, have seen their agenda. Project 2025.
Yeah, here we go with the 2025.
Randy, can you believe they put that thing in writing? 900 pages in writing. So Project 2025 is a plan to return America to a dark past.
Trump has nothing to do with it.
And his extreme allies want to take our nation back to failed trickle-down economic policies, back to union busting, back to tax breaks for billionaires. Donald Trump and his allies want to cut Medicare and Social Security.
She lies just as much as Biden.
Stop student loan forgiveness for teachers and other public servants.
It's like it runs in the family, or, well, the party.
And I say to AFT, they even want to eliminate the Department of Education.
Sign me up.
And end Head Start, which of course would take away preschool from hundreds of thousands of our children. He intends to give tax breaks to billionaires and big corporations and make working families foot the bill. And he intends to end the Affordable Care Act. Now think about that, to take us back to a time when insurance companies had the power to deny people with pre-existing conditions. Remember what that was like? Children with asthma, women who survived breast cancer, grandparents with diabetes. You know, America has tried these failed economic policies before, but we are not going back. We are not going back.
All right, I feel like I've had enough of her. Have you had enough of her? Let me say all these scary things that Trump has not said and put that on him.
And he has actively said that I don't endorse that.
Not only has Trump come out and said Project 2025 isn't mine, the Heritage Foundation came out and said Project 2025 isn't Trump's.
Yeah, it's wild.
Project 2025 would be the equivalent of me and Ken sitting down and coming up with a 900-page list of things that we think could fix the country and then sending it via mail to Mar-a-Lago. That's what it was. What a joke. But they have to push lies. They have to push fear. They have to push division. That's all they have. Emotional manipulation is all the left has. 100%. I had a clip a few weeks back. It was a Democrat rep said, unity doesn't motivate people to vote. Fear does. And it's like, exactly. But she's not going to address her failures. Trump did last night, when it comes to the border.
As border czar, Kamala threw open our borders and allowed 20 million illegal aliens to stampede into our country from all over the world. As vice president, she cast the tie-breaking votes that created the worst inflation in a half a century, decimating middle-class families and hurting very badly, as you know, all people in North Carolina.
Yeah, all people across the country, and she's up there on TV now trying to say that, we're gonna look out for the middle class. And the media is actively trying to scrub her history. Have you noticed this? Axios has written an article claiming Kamala Harris was never the border czar. She wasn't, guys, she wasn't the border czar, even though Biden appointed her as border czar in March of 2021. You can hear him in his own words.
I've asked her, the VP today, because she's the most qualified person to do it, to lead our efforts with Mexico and the Northern Triangle and the countries that help. We're going to need help in stemming the movement of so many folks stemming the migration to our southern border.
She's in charge of that. And they're bizarrely trying to fact check this. Axios claimed on Wednesday that she never was the border czar. They claimed the Trump campaign lied when saying that Harris was appointed border czar in March of 21. And since that time, we've had millions upon millions of illegal aliens coming into our country. They've been trying to scrub this, but we have the tape.
Quote unquote border czar. Vice President Harris was not a border czar.
Meantime, Vice President and border czar Kamala Harris facing some backlash.
What he said about Harris and immigration was not true. She was never appointed border czar.
And this will be her first visit to the U.S.-Mexico border region since she was appointed as the border czar by President Biden.
People gonna have to counter the misinformation. You already hear folks talking about the border czar. She wasn't the border czar.
President Biden tapped Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, to be the border czar.
Now, she wasn't the border czar. That's what Republicans labeled her.
They were very critical of Kamala Harris, especially in her role as border czar.
Now what she's up against is folks lying about her border record, calling her a border czar.
Kamala Harris, who was appointed as the border czar.
The Biden team didn't declare her the border czar. They wanted her to work on kind of the root causes of immigration.
There has been so much criticism against Kamala Harris. She was the border czar.
Calling her sort of the border czar, which wasn't necessarily the case.
So the border, if they weren't planning to address it in a major way, do not make her your border czar. She met with some of the Northern Triangle countries, but nothing has effectively changed.
Weird. Isn't it weird when you can use their own mainstream media reporting against them? Many such cases, but they're really doing their best. Kamala was not the border czar. Kamala was not the most liberal U.S. senator. They've gone back and trying to fix that as well. GovTrack, which is a supposedly bipartisan tracker, they ranked Harris as the most radical senator in 2019, further left than Bernie Sanders. And leading writers of the New York Times rated her as the least electable of 10 possible Democrat nominees leading up to the 2020 election. She was the first to drop out. But she's done all sorts of things. She's co-sponsored legislation to protect illegal immigrants from deportation. She backed Bernie Sanders' Medicare for All legislation. She backed a ban on private health insurance. She supported the Green New Deal. She supports bans on fracking. We can go on and on and on, and we have all the audio to prove it. We have the audio to prove it. It's there. And now they're trying to whitewash that history and erase it. But the internet lives forever, my friends, and we have it all. I don't know why they thought that we wouldn't have this all. We do. We have it all. So Trump brings this up last night. He brings up in North Carolina Kamala Harris's radical record, her wild ideas, the border failure. And he hits all these points. And, the mainstream media is not going to play any of this.
She said that a 70 to 80% tax hike is, quote, a bold idea that should be discussed. She wants it 80%. I gave you the largest tax cuts in history. She wants to take them away and increase your taxes. I don't think you're going to be too happy. Kamala publicly boasted, quote, there's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. She wants no fracking. Now that pertains to Pennsylvania, Texas, it pertains to Oklahoma. It pertains to a lot of other places more so than you, but it pertains to you where your wallet, because you're going to be paying a lot of money. You're going to be paying so much. You're going to say, bring back Trump, please, please.
I'm already saying bring back Trump. Brian in Greenbrier, you're next on Super Talk. What's up, Brian?
Me too, bro. I'm saying bring him back tomorrow.
Yeah, honestly.
Since according to polls, I saw 43% of Americans support her versus 47, 46 for Trump. That makes me wonder, do we have that many stupid people in this country that their brain is and their ears and their eyes are disconnected?
Oh, yeah, we do. We do have a lot of stupid people. I will point out that one of the polls that showed Kamala winning, a Reuters poll, actually was exposed as oversampling more Democrats than Republicans. Weird, huh?
Yeah, I don't believe. There's no way I believe what they put out. But so what the strategy should be is go tit for tat on the lies that they spew about being for the Heritage Foundation's whatever list, 900-page whatever. Give her credit for leaking internal lie like they do about her being for Stalinist. They've adopted old communist ways, and just I hate to say that because that's not the Christian way. But you know what? Just leak a few things on their side and see what the media won't cover it anyway.
No, you're absolutely right. And I think things may be coming out about Kamala Harris before we know it. 92% of her staff turned over in 3 years while she's been at the White House. 92%. You don't think there's a couple stories about her that's about to leak?
Brother, they're covering it. It's the biggest, like y'all said, over and over and over with Biden and her and them and Biden. It's the biggest cover-up. I mean, the thing is, we can't believe it. That's the thing. If that's 43%, then cool. And I've heard people say they'll move out of the country again. Move, bye.
Yeah.
Come up with a federal program to help them move.
Yep.
We need you out.
I'm with you, Brian. I appreciate the call. Yeah, and Trump didn't hold back last night when it came to Kamala Harris and her liberal record.
Here's just some of her crazy liberal record. Kamala Harris co-sponsored Bernie Sanders' $32 trillion plan for a socialist takeover of the entire U.S. health system, which will be a disaster and will bankrupt Medicare and Social Security. They're gone. And remember, Social Security is going to be gone anywhere if we're not elected, because they're putting all of these millions of people that are pouring into our country, they're putting them into Social Security, Medicare, schools, hospital. And we all have a big heart, but some of those people are tough, from prisons, from mental institutions, terrorists. When asked if her plan would outlaw private health insurance for 180 million Americans, Kamala replied, let's just eliminate all of it. That's all she said. We'll eliminate all. That's nice. Thank you very much, Kamala.
Yeah, thank you, Kamala. Is this racist? They call him a racist now if he doesn't pronounce her name right.
Kamala.
Even Democrats pronounce it this way.
Kamala.
They don't say that. They don't say that for their own side. I got more audio from the Trump rally. He goes in on Kamala Harris. We'll play it for you next. Hang out with us. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, it's Chris Hand here for my friends at the Glock store, talking about these guys like I do every single day because they're the best. Have you been to the Glock store yet? Have you experienced the Shoot 270 indoor training rooms? I have. And for a while, I would hear Dan talk about it. I'd hear Matt talk about it. And I thought, okay, it's like a gun store and a range. That's cool. And I was wrong. I was completely wrong. These indoor ranges are nothing like I've ever seen. It is you and an instructor in a private training room, training like you would in real life scenarios. You're not going to find yourself dealing with a threat and say, stand directly in front of me 200 yards. These situations aren't like that. But at the Shoot 270 indoor training rooms, you're dealing with real life scenarios. You can learn how to clear a room. They have low light, no light training. It's unbelievable. If you haven't checked it out, I suggest you do. And if you have any interest in Glocks or anything to do with Glocks whatsoever, the place to go, the source, is the Glock store. And they'll help you with anything, from performance parts to any questions you have. In fact, in the back of the store, they have an entire Genius bar dedicated to answering your questions on guns. So why would you go anywhere else? Stop by the Glock store. Talk to the fantastic people that work there. Check out the shooting rooms, not because I'm telling you to do it, but because you're going to find out yourself firsthand how amazing the Glock store is. It's going to be your new favorite place also. That's the Glock store, minutes from the airport, worth the drive from anywhere.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members
Hey, it's
Nutrition.
Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Got a stalled vehicle blocking 40 westbound right before Hermitage Avenue. The second left lane is blocked there. And we've got Kamala Harris on the campaign trail again, this time campaigning in Texas. We'll let you hear some of that. And here in Nashville, an investigation underway after a machete attack, coming up at 11 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You know, Kamala is going to be going after the youth vote, and she'll tell you in her own words why.
Remember, age is more than a chronological fact. What else do we know about this population, 18 through 24? They are stupid. That is why we put them in dormitories.
Going after 18 to 24-year-olds, they're dumb. Donald Trump had a lot to say about Kamala Harris last night that if you're paying attention, you probably already know.
For 3.5 years, Lion Kamala Harris has been the ultra-liberal driving force behind every single Biden catastrophe. She is a radical left lunatic who will destroy our country. If she ever gets the chance to get into office, we're not going to let that happen.
No, and under Kamala, we've had 15 million unvetted illegal aliens at least enter the country. Record high gas prices in all 50 states. Record high consumer debt. Terrorists coming into the country. Ukraine-Russia's war. Israel-Hamas war. The withdrawal from Afghanistan. Violent crime skyrocketing. But she's gonna bank on her voters being too dumb to remember that. That's what she's banking on. I got more from the Trump rally after Ken Weaver's newscast, which happens right now on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Eleven o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories, and still got that traffic problem I just mentioned. Going to be 40 westbound right before the Hermitage Avenue exit. You've got the second left lane blocked by a stalled vehicle, but there's also a crash near there, too. Full forecast in 2 minutes. Right now in Nashville, News Channel 5 says a police officer told one of its reporters a toddler shot himself overnight. The scene described as horrific. This was Channel 4's Jordan James earlier this morning.
Investigators tell us that around 9 o'clock last night, some children were playing with a gun at Oakwood Flats Apartments when it went off, hitting the 3-year-old. This resulted in multiple neighbors calling the police and loved ones showing up to the complex. It became an emotional scene for everyone involved as that toddler was rushed to the hospital with serious injuries.
Yeah, last check in critical condition, and police still trying to determine whether anyone will face charges. Metro Police investigating a machete attack at an encampment just east of the 65-440 interchange. News 2 says it happened around 1 o'clock this morning. 47-year-old Thomas McDowell allegedly hit a woman in the face with a machete in a tent where they lived. A witness says the machete left a large cut from the top of the woman's head to her chin. McDowell's in custody on a charge of attempted criminal homicide. The victim said to have life-threatening injuries. And election 2024, Vice President Kamala Harris campaigning in Texas, addressing the American Federation of Teachers National Convention in Houston this morning.
And I thank you also for your support over the years and for being the first union to endorse me this week.
The AFT says it is an affiliate of the AFL-CIO and has about 1.8 million members in more than 3,000 local affiliates nationwide. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
You know, I was supposed to be nice. They say something happened to me when I got shot. I became nice. And when you're dealing with these people, they're very dangerous people. When you're dealing with them, you can't be too nice. You really can't be. So if you don't mind, I'm not going to be nice. Is that okay? They want me to be nice.
The crowd in North Carolina did not want Donald Trump to be nice when it came to Kamala Harris. And he didn't hold back. He didn't hold back. The crowd was insane, man. Packed stadium in North Carolina. Packed, not an empty seat. You know, the Democrats are touting Kamala's successful, huge rally. 3,000 people. 3,000. That's the biggest Democrat rally this campaign cycle. And that's a success. It's a success. So Donald Trump had a room with many more people. Many more people. And this was the first rally since Kamala's been coronated. So Trump really took aim at her. And he should. He should. We have a new target, right? It's Kamala Harris and her radical left policies.
Kamala Harris is the most liberal elected politician in American history. Did you know that? She's an ultra-liberal politician. She's absolutely terrible. She's, as you know, more liberal than Bernie Sanders. Can you believe it? She's rated far more liberal than Bernie Sanders. And she's now trying to get rid of her record, but she can't. She's going out and saying things that she doesn't believe. And if she ever got in, she'd destroy this country so fast.
No, she would, and she is. They're all trying to get rid of her record. They're all trying to hide the clips. They're all trying to say she wasn't the border czar. The YouGov tracker that rated her the most radical leftist senator in 2019, you know, in the lead up to the 2020 primaries, they went back and changed it. Axios went back and changed an article that correctly labeled her the border czar. We're going to see this in real time. It's so 1984. It's so Orwellian, the way they can go back and change things. Luckily for us, we have the internet and we have Twitter not being controlled by leftists. So these clips are going to live forever and we're always going to be able to find them. And Donald Trump understands that he's not just up against Kamala Harris. He's up against an entire machine. An entire machine. But he says with Kamala Harris, if she's going to lie about Joe Biden's mental health, his functioning mental capacity, what else is she going to lie to the American people about? What else will she lie to you about if she's willing to lie about the president and his dementia?
If Kamala will lie to you so brazenly about Joe Biden's mental incapacity, then she will lie to you about anything. She can never, ever be trusted. She can't be trusted.
He's absolutely right. He's absolutely right.
And just like crooked Joe Biden, Kamala Harris is unfit to lead. She's unfit to lead. She'll destroy our country. In a year, this country will be destroyed. A vote for Kamala is a vote for 4 more years of dishonesty, incompetence, weakness, and failure. Other than that, she's doing an excellent job.
I love it when he throws in the, other than that, it's excellent.
Other than that, she's doing an excellent job.
Classic Trump. The Fox News invited these guys to a debate. Kamala Harris, Donald Trump, they want to do it September 17th. I worry that that's too late. I do. With early voting and how people are doing this, it worries me. I feel like we should have 2 debates in the next 3 weeks. Neither campaign has accepted this invitation yet. Fox News sent out the invitations to Trump and Harris campaigns to participate in the first presidential debate since Biden dropped out and Harris was installed by Democrat leadership in his place. That debate would be in Pennsylvania on September 17th. The date is only 7 days after the previously scheduled debate that would have been between Trump and Biden. And Biden, as we all know now, heroically quit. It was the most heroic thing he's ever done in politics. He quit. He gave a 10-minute Oval Office address last night that was really bad, really low energy, and a lot of old man noises. The first debate of the general election season, we saw it happen much earlier than before. because they were giving Joe Biden a test run. Spoiler alert, he failed miserably. And then after an assassination attempt, Joe Biden has decided to drop out. So Fox News has invited them September 17th. Neither campaign's accepted yet. Fox News has said the rules, location, all negotiable. All negotiable. The letter stated that the hosts of the debate would be Brett Baier and Martha McCallum, who they say are the faces of their political coverage and therefore the best choices to moderate. In recognition of Fox News Media's capabilities and reputation, we cordially extend an invitation to all concerned parties to discuss our proposal. We appreciate your consideration and look forward to the opportunity to foster informed political dialogue at this pivotal moment for our nation.
A vote for Trump-Vance administration is a vote to restore leadership, competence, common sense, and strength back to the Oval Office like we had it just 3.5 years ago. If Kamala Harris gets in, she would be the most radical far-left extremist ever to occupy the White House times 10. There's never been a lunatic like this in the White House, and we've had some bad ones. But the worst one is Joe, actually.
Yeah, Kamala Harris actually lost the support of Black Lives Matter, which is shocking because she was raising money to bail them out during the Summer of Love. Many such cases. The far-left organization Black Lives Matter is calling out Democrats for anointing Vice President Harris as the party's presumptive nominee without voters getting a chance to actually vote. That was baked into the cake, you guys. This has been a long thought-out plan. It had to be. If they had done primaries, let's be perfectly honest, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. would be the Democrat nominee right now. We'd be dealing with a much different race. We would. And a lot of things would be different, but they knew that, so they did it this way. And Black Lives Matter looks at this and they see what we see. It's weird. We're agreeing with Black Lives Matter. Weird. They're calling on the Democrat National Convention to create a process that allows for public participation in the nomination process, not just a nomination by party delegates. On Tuesday, that radical group, which was responsible for billions of damage and violence across the U.S. in the summer of 2020, said in a statement, a 24-hour process of talking to party bosses is not democratic, nor is it a process Democrats should be proud of. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries insisted that Harris was not installed by the party top down, but that she earned the nomination from the grassroots. Okay. I mean, all right. Grassroots Harris, I guess. Black Lives Matter, which a lot of people point to as the grassroots wing of the Democrat Party, has called them out for refusing to host debates during the primary, which would have likely allowed America to see the decline of Joe Biden. Even Black Lives Matter understands that it's been a cover-up of Joe Biden's declining mental capacities. And they also slammed Democrats for changing the primary schedule and creating rules that made it almost impossible for non-Biden candidates to appear on the ballot effectively, clearing the field of any challengers. The group also said that after one poor debate performance, the DNC's elites and billionaire donors bullied Joe out of the race. That's exactly what they did. I've heard reports that they said, Joe, you can leave on your own or we can 25th Amendment you. That's just what I'm hearing. It was his choice to heroically quit. It was his choice. Black Lives Matter says we don't live in a dictatorship. Delegates are not oligarchs. Installing Kamala Harris as the Democrat nominee and an unknown vice president without any public voting process would make the modern Democratic Party a party of hypocrites. Well, I think they've been a party of hypocrites for a while, but that's just me. Black Lives Matter also demanded that the party it usually aligns with immediately host an informal virtual snap primary across the country prior to the DNC convention in August. The statement continued, we call for the Rules Committee to create a process that allows for public participation in the nomination process, not just a nomination by party delegates. The current political landscape is unprecedented, with Biden stepping aside in a manner never seen before. This moment calls for decisive action to protect the integrity of our democracy and the voices of black voters. One BLM leader said, this is not an attack on Kamala or black women. And right now, we aren't questioning Kamala's qualifications or capabilities. I am, full disclosure. So this is about the nominating process. Those of us who care about the principles of democracy cannot be serious about installing Kamala Harris, an unknown vice president, as the Democrat nominee without any semblance of a people-powered process. Not delegates and party elites, but actually asking communities across the country if they believe this should be the Democratic ticket. I think it's important to point out that Kamala Harris was essentially ousted from the primaries by Tulsi Gabbard after she was exposed for her record as a prosecutor locking up weed-smoking black adults in California in front of a room full of black women in Detroit, to which they booed her, and she could never recover after that. She just couldn't recover. And the Democrat Party was so mad because, listen, she was their choice in 2020 too. The Democrat Party was so mad that they really went out of their way to not feature Tulsi on any more of those Democrat debates moving forward. And it actually was so demoralizing and disenfranchising to Tulsi that she left the party because of it. So Black Lives Matter they want a process, a democratic process. It's not going to happen. It's not, because the Democrats don't actually care about Black Lives Matter unless it's convenient to them. And the word is out that the DNC is going to hold a virtual nomination in August, nominating Kamala before the convention. It'll block delegates from nominating a new candidate in Chicago, despite the fact that Kamala received 0 votes. She's the 0 vote nominee. And they're going to enact a rule change for the DNC that will allow Harris to receive the party's nomination prior to the convention being held. This decision comes as a strategic move to streamline the nomination process and is likely intended to avoid any perception of instability within the party. How do you avoid the perception of instability when you just had your nominee heroically quit just days after saying, I'm 1,000% in it to win it? After you bully him out of the candidacy. It's wild. It's wild to watch. The virtual roll call was planned for a while, since May, because they wanted to allow the Democratic ticket to have enough time to get Biden's name on ballots in states with early filing deadlines. But now they're just swapping out Biden for Harris, even though Harris has not received any votes.
I saw a post a couple of days ago that was talking about how they'd already pre-filled out a bunch of ballots for Biden from dead people. And so now they have to go back and erase all those.
Is that the meme where it's Ben Affleck smoking his cigarette and he's just like leaning against the wall?
Yes.
Is that the one?
Yeah.
It's one of my faves.
It's so good.
It's one of my favorites. Listen, the fake news is selling Kamala Harris as a savior, and even Black Lives Matter doesn't believe the fake news. Black Lives Matter kind of sounds like Trump a little bit.
And yet the fake news, which a month ago said she was incompetent, said she was a stiff, just a dopey stiff, the worst. Nobody talked to her. She was firing her staff left and right. The staff hates her. Oh, wait till you see the stories that are going to come out about her staff. Oh. If that were me, they'd be all over the place. But the fake news tries to cover her up. But wait till you see, she was the worst with the staff of anybody. But the fake news is talking about lying Kamala as if she's the savior of our country. That she's so brave. I've never seen a turnaround like this. 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, she was the worst politician in America. Now they say, isn't it amazing? Look at her. She's so beautiful. She's so magnificent.
Where's the lie? Where's the lie? They literally were telling us that if Joe Biden had a stronger VP candidate, he would be in a better position to win the race. And now they're telling us that there's no one more qualified than the woman who has gotten 0 votes. Wild. And Trump also took a jab at her record-breaking crowd size of 3,000 people for the Democrats.
She has a crowd of 1,000 people the other day. And the fake news, and they worked hard to get that crowd. We have crowds of 25, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70,000 people. And the fake news said, oh, her crowd was amazing. It was amazing. You see it? The other day, she had maybe 1,000 people. I doubt it. They worked their asses off to get those people to go, and I wonder what they gave her. They said, oh, this is such a big crowd. She's got such momentum. I don't think she's going to have a lot of momentum after this speech because I'm telling you about her. Right? We're telling you the facts. I'm just giving you the facts. But they said it was such a big crowd, such a beautiful crowd. They never mention our crowds. Like this crowd. Look at this crowd. You can multiply her crowds times 20 and 30, and she wouldn't get what we get.
No, he's absolutely right. So we've heard from Harris today. We've heard from Trump. What do voters think? I'll let you in on some thoughts from some voters after the break. It's 11:21 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Got a crash, 40 eastbound off-ramp to go southbound on White Bridge Pike. The off-ramp is partially blocked there. And we've got very sad news to report on the investigation into a shooting involving a toddler overnight in Nashville at 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken. It's 11:25 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. all over the socials, Instagram, Twitter, Truth Social, at Chris Hand on air. Hit the follow button. I will follow back as long as you don't look like a Russian bot or something. I feel like I do a pretty good job of following back. If I don't follow you back and you're real, just shoot me a DM. As we talked about, we've heard Trump on Harris. We've heard Harris on Trump. We've heard Joe Biden heroically quitting. We're leaving somebody out, though. That's the voters. MSNBC had some voters on their network. These are the ones that they could find.
I think that if the DNC would have taken this path maybe 2 months ago when these same problems existed, I might have leaned towards Kamala, our vice president. Now, knowing the things that they've been hiding in plain sight from the American public, I cannot find it in myself to vote for a Democrat, and potentially I might never vote for a Democrat again.
And I want to point out that, you can't see the video. The dude that was talking there, 100% soy boy. 100%. He had an oat milk latte like earlier that day. Guaranteed. But even he looks at it and he says, listen, with everything they've pulled on us, with everything, why would we vote for her? They covered up Joe Biden's mental decline. They covered it up. And now they're trying to cover up the fact that she was in charge of the border. MSNBC had a group of voters on to talk about that as well.
How do you perceive Vice President Harris compared to President Biden in terms of competency and experience?
I think she's worse. She doesn't even know what's going on at the border.
Right.
And that's what she was supposed to be doing and in charge of. I mean, as a school teacher, if I did not do what I was supposed to be doing, you better believe my job would be in jeopardy.
Yeah, Democrats fail up, though. Democrats tend to fail up. This is another one from MSNBC. And I think it's important to point out, MSNBC, they're like firmly in the Harris camp. I mean, I think that goes without saying, but they're airing these voters because this is what they could get.
I don't think that her performance as VP has been notable, so I really don't think that would make a difference for me.
I don't think she has any chance, and I think that was a horrible decision on Biden's part.
I mean, not a fan. The voters of Kamala Harris. CBS had some voters reacting to the news of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris as well.
I have voted for Clinton, I have voted for Bush, I have voted for Obama, and guess what? The only one who has stayed true to his word is Trump.
I voted for Clinton, I voted for Bush, I voted for Obama, and guess what? The only one who has stayed true to their word is Trump. Promises made, promises kept. But the difference is that Trump actually cares about American citizens. The Democrats and the left care about power. That's the difference. It's not shocking that these voters aren't behind Kamala Harris because these voters understand that Kamala Harris is not behind them. The meme is so true with Trump. They're not after me, they're after you. I'm just in the way. Well, there is the left. And voters understand that. Voters can see that every single day. CNN had a segment, this was yesterday, where they threw some cold water on the lefties. Trump is more popular than ever before. I'll play that audio for you after Ken Weaver's newscast, which happens right now on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
11:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Marginal risk of severe weather today. Details during the full forecast in 2 minutes. Right now in Nashville, Fox 17 says a toddler who was shot overnight at the Oakwood Flats apartments in East Nashville has died, and police are looking for the father. Elsewhere, a Metro detective says a tourist is lucky to be alive. 33-year-old Allie Chamel emerged on her own, soaking wet and barefoot, several hours after she was seen along the riverfront at First and Woodland.
I think it's truly a miracle that she was fine because, like I said, she climbed herself right up. We don't even know how far she went down into the river, but I just look at it as she was blessed. quite honestly. It's extremely rare. In my personal experience, I've never seen that before. Not to say it hasn't happened, but I would say it's extremely rare.
Jamel, visiting from New Jersey, told police she doesn't know how she ended up in the river. She's reportedly going to be okay. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionality, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
$11:35 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Find me on social media at Chris Hand on Air, on Twitter, True Social, Instagram. Listen to us wherever you go. On the iHeartRadio app, the TuneIn app, the podcasts are available on Apple and Spotify. We're everywhere you need to be. All the places, all the things. I said I was going to do so. Oh, yes, I was going to do the CNN.
Yeah.
I literally, so if you heard the instrumental playing for a second on the radios, because I said to Mason, I was like, what did I say I was going to teach? What did I say I was going to do here? And then we both just kind of stared at each other in silence for a second.
We're professionals here.
And then I was like, all right, well, I didn't remember, so I'm just going to go.
Keep pushing on.
But I remember now. CNN ran this segment, and it was like cold water incoming for lefties. Cold water incoming. CNN, Harry Enton, he's one of their poll guys. He said Trump is more popular now than he's ever been.
Let's take a look here just first at the favorable views of Donald Trump. We know that Donald Trump has historically been unpopular. But take a look now. After the Republican National Convention, in the ABC News Ipsos poll, he recorded his highest ever favorable rating at 40%. That's not a one-off. Take a look at the Quinnipiac University poll, 46%. That's the highest ever in that pollster. The fact is, Donald Trump is more popular now than he ever has been before. So yes, Democrats can make this switcheroo, but they're still going to have to beat Donald Trump, a Donald Trump who is stronger, Sarah, than he has ever been before.
You still got to face Trump. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. He's stronger than he's ever been before. Despite the court cases, despite the mugshot, despite the lawfare, despite everything, we are witnessing the greatest political comeback in American history. It has to be, right? Have we ever seen a comeback like this? He was supposed to be done. And then he's almost assassinated 12 days ago. The news cycle is moving so fast that we can't even really wrap our heads around the fact that less than 2 weeks ago, he almost lost his life. And since then, he's been out on the campaign trail. He's had a shift in who he's actually racing against. Now it's Kamala. Okay. But he's more popular than he's ever been. So what about Trump versus Harris?
How is he doing relative to Harris, who did run at one point? What do those numbers look like?
Yeah, so let's take a look here, right? We've been focusing so much on how Harris was doing better than Biden in the polling, and that's true. If we take a look at the national average, what do we see? We see Donald Trump up by 1. That's a within the margin race, right? That's a close race. But remember, of course, in the national popular vote, Democrats tend to do better there than they've done in the Electoral College, at least when Donald Trump has been running for president. So last time around, when Joe Biden barely won in the Electoral College, he actually won the national popular vote by 4 points. So at this point, Donald Trump is running 5 points better. 5, that's a 5 of some sort. 5 points better than he was 4 years ago against Joe Biden.
Trump is up higher in almost every metric than he was in 2020. He's doing better than he was in 2016. How do they stop this guy? A bullet couldn't stop him. But he's doing significantly better today than he was in 2020.
So at this particular point, whether you look at the favorable ratings, whether you look at the horse race polling, we see that Donald Trump is doing significantly better than he was doing 4 years ago at this point. Kamala Harris is going to have to do better than this, of course, if she wants to win the popular vote, but more than that if she wants to win the Electoral College, where she'll likely have to outperform how she's done nationally, because the fact is, if you got to tie it in the national popular vote, that is probably not good enough if you're Kamala Harris and you want to win.
Yeah, that's not good enough. A tie is not going to cut it if you're Kamala Harris and you want to win. And does anybody think that she's really going to win the popular vote? One of the least likable politicians in American history. She hasn't won anything. She's won nothing. She's the nominee. Hey, if that's what you want to do. Joe Biden's out. Karine Jean-Pierre was asked about it yesterday. If he can run, right? If he can't run, well, why is he still president? If he can't run, well, why isn't he resigning?
The president believes that it's best for the country that he not be in the Oval Office for another 4 years. How can you assure the American people that he's up to be in the office for the next 6 months?
Well, first I would say is that
and I've heard these suggestions out there. This is not an answer to you. This is an answer to the suggestions that I've had. I've heard about him resigning from office. We believe, and any suggestion of that note is ridiculous. It is not what we believe. The president, I just laid out what the president has been able to do in almost 4 years, and it's been successful. He's been able to do more, again, than any president has been able to do in 2 terms. He's been able to do that more in 1 term.
Yeah, more failures. More failures, definitely. Such a weird flex. He's been so accomplished that he did more in 1 term than some presidents in 2. And now, the most heroic thing that he's ever done is quit. That's his legacy. What are we going to do without this guy?
He's a gold mine. He's a gold mine for content.
He's a gold mine. So he didn't step down because he doesn't think he can run, according to Karine Jean-Pierre.
He didn't step down from campaigning or from running because he didn't believe he can serve in a 2nd term. That is not why.
No. Of course that's not why. It was the Democrat elites that believed he couldn't win and couldn't run, and that's why he's stepping down. Obviously. The thing is that the rumors are that they told him either you step down on your own terms or we'll 25th Amendment you. And Joe Biden, with the lack of mental faculties he has, the ego is still in check. And he decided to step down on his own. That's what I'm hearing. I don't know what anybody else is hearing. Those are the rumors I'm hearing. But Karine Jean-Pierre was asked, did he feel bullied? Did they bully him?
Did he feel bullied to leave the race? I'm going to let the president speak for himself. Look, it's obviously is a historic moment, but a decision like this is very personal. It's not easy to make. And I think there are very rare politicians who could look at the situation and make a decision.
Well, wouldn't every politician have to look at the situation and make a decision? So I don't know how rare that is. There are 2 choices. Do you know how many politicians would say, I'm walking away from this? I'm not going to make any decision? Well, you had to make a decision. Are they concerned that it's going to be a lame duck presidency now?
No concerns about being a lame duck. We don't see ourselves as a lame duck president at all. In this period of time, this is a president that has been incredibly successful.
They always say this, but they don't really tell us what the successes were. So, I think lame duck fits.
Absolutely.
He made a lot of promises last night.
They did raise our population quite a bit.
True.
Legally, not the correct way to do it, but we do have a higher population here.
Yeah, we do. Who's the border czar again? Asking for a friend. So on his way out in his Oval Office address, Joe Biden promised to, this guy with his promises, for a guy that's about to retire. He made a lot of promises last night. He's going to stop Putin. Okay? He's going to secure the border. And he's going to end cancer.
What?
Yeah, honestly. Oh, and I forgot, Supreme Court reform. He's going to pack the court.
Oh, yeah.
6 months. 6 months.
It's a lot of votes to get in.
You know? I'm not opposed to him ending cancer in the next 6 months.
I'm not either. I don't think anybody would be against it.
I just don't think that he can do it. I don't think he can.
And he's going to do everything that he can to continue to fight for the American people.
Okay, that's nice. It's nice. We don't believe him. I don't believe him. You don't believe him. But that's nice. You know, that's nice. that's okay.
Okay.
All right. That's cool. They said, is this going to change how Biden and Harris work together?
It's clear that President Biden and Vice President Harris have met regularly, including their
standing lunches from the outset of the administration, but I'm wondering now, since he made his decision, if there are any plans to increase the cadence of those interactions, or if he plans to include her in more of his policy-making processes. How will that relationship and that involvement change?
So what I can say is the president and the vice president speak regularly. They see each other regularly. You named some ways of how they've been able to do that, to stay in touch and see each other in person. Look, the president is committed to being president and leading this country forward in the way that he believes that Americans want to see this country moving forward. And the vice president's going to continue to be a critical partner. Nothing's going to change in that. But they're going to continue to engage, interact, and have important conversations as it relates to policies and moving forward. That's not going to stop. And I'll leave it there.
Yeah, I'll leave it there. They're partners. The partnership will continue. They've been partners. Let's not forget that as we head into this, 4 months until the election, right? We need to really remind everyone they are partners.
It's working.
Yeah, and all of that work can be hung on Kamala Harris as well. She gets all that credit too. They're partners. They're partners. And Karine Jean-Pierre laid it out. They're partners. And I hope that the Republicans clip this for an ad.
They are partners. They are partners. They have been. She's been, again, a critical partner in some of the big piece items that we have been able to get done on behalf of this country. Obviously, she's going to play a role as she has done in the past.
I hope that they clip that for an ad.
Obviously.
Somebody needs to get that to the Dilly meme team or MAGA and make sure that they have this and that they use it. They need to use it. They're partners. There have been some ads coming out. Is it McCormick? He's running for Senate in Pennsylvania, and he put out an ad. Dave McCormick. He put out an ad against Kamala Harris because his opponent in Pennsylvania is trying to distance himself from that Democrat record of the Biden administration.
Kamala Harris is inspiring and very capable. The more people get to know her, they're going to be particularly impressed by her ability.
The nonpartisan GovTrack has rated you as the most liberal senator.
I am prepared to get rid of the filibuster to pass a Green New Deal. There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking.
Would you ban offshore drilling?
Yes.
What is the solution for voters in the fossil fuel industry?
Giving the workers an ability to transition. We're not going to treat people who are undocumented and cross the border as criminals. That's correct.
Raise your hand if you think it should be a civil offense rather than a crime to cross the border without documentation.
Abolish ICE.
Yeah, is that a position you agree with?
And we need to probably think about starting from scratch. Outdated, it is wrong-headed thinking to think that the only way you're going to get communities to be safe is to put more police officers on the street.
Would you support changing the dietary guidelines?
Yes.
The food pyramid.
Yes.
To reduce red meat specifically.
Yes.
People who are convicted in prison, like the Boston Marathon bomber, on death row, people who are convicted of sexual assault, they should be able to vote.
I think we should have that conversation. We have to have a buyback program, and I support a mandatory buyback program.
So for people out there who like their insurance, they don't get to keep it.
Let's eliminate all of that. Let's move on. I am opposed to any policy that would deny any human being public health, period.
The more people get to know her, they're going to be particularly impressed by her ability.
We did it, Joe.
I mean, is that not epic? We did it, Joe.
That ominous laugh in the background just sounds like a
right
super
at the end. Isn't that so good?
By her ability.
We did it, Joe.
You know, when I was doing when I was producing, this is like a year ago, October-ish.
Yeah.
23. I did some spooky imaging for Halloween, and I used her laugh in the background. Her and Hillary.
Rightfully so. Oh, Hillary's is the worst.
The worst. It's 11:49. We're gonna check in with Matt Murphy, see what's coming up on the Murphy Show next, and we got a lot more Super Talk on the way. Murphy's in 12 to 3. Brian Wilson will take you home. The news keeps going. At this rate, there's going to be maybe 2-3 breaking news stories today, easily. We'll talk to Murphy next. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Whatever.
11:57 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand in studio with Matt Murphy. What up, Murph?
Hello. How am I, Mason? Am I doing good here? Or do I need to go back? I can never tell.
Right there.
Right here?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
What's up, dude?
I'm sorry. I was trying to satisfy you don't want the people watching on Super Talk TV to miss out on this.
They're rabid. They'll let you know if you're out of frame.
What's going on? How are
Not
you?
much. What do you got coming up on the show today?
Well, holy moly, we've got, did anybody see the hostage video last night? Anybody watch that? He was, if you go back, here's what I would encourage folks to do. We can do this today on the show. If you go back and you watch really carefully, you can listen to Joe Biden clearing his throat and slurring in Morse code. He's saying, help me. It's my joke. I don't know if anyone else has talked about this. Maybe you have. I caught a lot of your show today, not all of it. Dan Mandis and Nashville's Morning News, et cetera, et cetera. But this is not, what happened last night's not good enough.
No, there was no explanation.
So the process by which, and I understand the Democrats set up their own process and they have to answer to their own voters. And I think their voters are going to respond in November. So all of this is going to work itself out. But in the spirit of, quote, democracy, let's discuss this. The process doesn't allow for a candidate to for a group of people to just decide that this candidate's not working out for them after the voters pick that candidate.
And what happens if the polls are bad for Kamala in a week or two? Are they going to feel like they need to do the exact same thing?
So it's obvious to me that the rumors that we've all heard regarding how all of this went down the way that it did.
100%.
That he got surrounded by a group of people close enough to him, and they said, listen, this is going to happen one way or the other. Either we can do this in a way where we celebrate you and celebrate your legacy, or we're going to boot your butt out of the office on the 25th Amendment grounds, and we've got Kamala behind us to do it.
Yep.
And so what does he have to do? He bites the bullet. I mean, you feel bad for the guy. I mean, was he ineffective? Yes. Was he horrible? Yes. Will he go down in history as one of the worst? Of course. But at the same time, you almost feel sympathy for Joe Biden at this point, the manner in which he's been treated. And they'll do this to anybody.
Hands down, it's all about power. But if Biden keeps the promises he made last night for the last 6 months in office, this could be actually a good presidency. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful. If he could secure the border and stop Putin and reform the Supreme Court and end cancer in 6 months...
Cancer moonshot. Come on, baby. Somebody sent me a text. Did he say cancer moonshine? No. It's moonshot. It's moonshine. I know he's stirred.
Yeah. I'll take the moonshine.
Tim Burchett's up at 12:35. He's going to give us a peek behind the Kamala Harris DEI hire curtain and much, much more, telephone calls, et cetera, et cetera.
I love it. Are you going to ask him about Whoopi Goldberg calling him out on The View?
I've got the clip.
All right, perfect. Yeah, play it. I want to listen to Burchett react in real time at 12:35.
To Whoopi.
It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.